A couple months ago, we got the announcement of a brand new RWBY project that was in the works in Japan, but we didn't learn anything about it until about 24 hours ago, where we got a little bit more information on the series as well as the name. The RWBY Ice Queendom anime project, and just about an hour ago we got the first promotional video, the trailer for this new RWBY anime, and I have to say, it looks absolutely incredible. The visuals are stunning, and the action sequences are going to be so fluid. I will leave a link in the description below so you guys can go and watch the trailer there for yourself, as well as a link to the official RWBY Ice Queendom website so you can see some of the designs of the characters and the lore that they're setting up. Admittedly, most of it is just rehashing of things we already know. If you are a veteran of the RWBY series, you know most of the information so far. The website itself gives a brief description of the different kingdoms, what a semblance is, what aura is, the characters themselves, etc. So most of the information on there we do already know, but I am sure more information is going to be added by the time this anime starts airing later this year, in the summer of 2022, supposedly. So I will definitely be covering it on this channel, and in this video I'm going to break down the trailer that we got, as well as give some of my ideas on where I think the series might be headed. The trailer definitely implies that it's pretty much going to be a rehash of Volume 1, at least at the very beginning. A majority of the trailer was just 2D animation of what we saw in Volume 1. Beautifully animated, we saw the initiation in Emerald Forest, RWBY and Weiss running from the Nevermore, as well as facing off against a number of other Grimm. Each of our four main protagonists having their introduction into the RWBY series, as their team is coming together, seeing a bit of their outlooks as they are first starting their journey into Beacon Academy. We got to see RWBY in front of Summer Rose's grave, and we saw how glyphs are going to be animated, which, oh, things just look so good in this trailer. We also get to see Weiss fighting the Borbatusk after Team RWBY is formed, where she is desperate to prove herself that she is fit to lead. We also see the scene from the very beginning of the RWBY series, where Ruby Rose is fighting against the thugs hired by Roman Torchwick to hold up a dust shop. So here's hoping we get to see Roman a lot more in this series, though I kind of have a feeling if he is in this series, he's only going to make a brief cameo, because I think things are going to deviate very drastically from Volume 1 after a certain point in time, that being pretty much right after the Borbatusk fight, after Weiss takes on the Borbatusk, because this trailer heavily implies that the conflict between RWBY and Weiss that was pretty much front and center right after the Emerald Forest initiation, where Weiss was very bossy and didn't think that RWBY was fit to lead the team, being 2 years younger than everyone else and still having a bit of that childish immaturity. She thought she was better, and that really didn't sit well with RWBY, going so far as to say that she hates Weiss. And this trailer definitely implies that Weiss took RWBY's words a lot more to heart. After RWBY says that she hates Weiss, we can see the look on her face as it is pained. Weiss seems genuinely hurt hearing RWBY say that to her, which is in stark contrast to what we saw in Volume 1 of the RWBY series. When RWBY blew up at Weiss saying, "You're acting like a big jerk and I hate you," Weiss just brushed it off as a child just throwing a tantrum, pretty much, still thinking that she's better than RWBY, and this is where I think the core conflict of Ice Queendom is going to come into play. Because in Volume 1 proper, Weiss says to RWBY, "I'm not perfect. Not yet, anyways." And this is where I think Weiss is going to kind of go off on her own path. Because in this trailer, we not only see a couple of new scenes hinting more that this is going to be Weiss-centered, not only the name Ice Queendom really implying that it's going to be focusing on the Ice Queen, aka Weiss-Schnee herself, but we also see a couple of scenes specifically from the White trailer. We see Weiss standing in front of the statue of the Armagigas, as well as seeing a close-up of Weiss after she first received the wound that gave her her scar on her left eye. But the new scenes that we get to see is Weiss in an argument with Yang. Yang telling Weiss to say something, and Weiss not really knowing what to do. We then cut to another scene where Weiss is standing in front of another statue, seemingly to be in Atlas once again. Then we see RWBY once again standing in front of her mother's grave, saying, I want you to know that I can do this. Seemingly, this would be directed at Weiss, similar to what we saw in Volume 1, where she said pretty much those exact same lines to Weiss. That I want you to know I can be a leader. And at that point, back in Volume 1, Weiss decides that she's going to do what she can to support RWBY. RWBY's going to be the best leader she can be, and Weiss is going to be the best teammate that she can be. But here, the last scene we get to see in this trailer is Weiss seeming to look at a reflection of herself. And this was something that was focused on in the live stream afterwards. The voice actors put emphasis on there seeming to be two different versions of Weiss, that she was looking at herself. And seemingly, the version that we know of Weiss, the version with the scar over her left eye, was a bit shocked at what she saw. And this is where the trailer ends. A lot of it was a rehash of the first little bit of Volume 1, which I am absolutely okay with, seeing that animated in such a beautiful fashion, and I'm really curious to see where it's going to branch off of in the future. Obviously, this is going to be a very Weiss-centered show, and I am all for it, and I'm sure a lot of you are as well, considering how high Weiss has continuously ranked in the Best Girls poll, though last year she did only rank number 4. After this, though, I'm pretty sure she's going to be retaking her number 1 spot, which she hasn't had for a couple years now. But the direction that I think this is going to head is that instead of Weiss deciding that she's going to stick with the team to be the best teammate that she can be, that she is instead going to take RWBY's words much more to heart, that the team leader already hates her, that Weiss thinks that she is better suited to be the leader of the team. And even if that's not the case, that she still continuously wants to strive for that perfection that she so desperately desired at the beginning of Volume 1. We've seen throughout the volumes of RWBY how much Weiss has been able to grow, but if she didn't have those character moments in Volume 1, didn't come to the conclusions to, kind of get off of her high horse and continue down that path, well, this might be the what-if scenario that we are going to explore in this anime. And I think that it's going to result in Weiss leaving Beacon Academy and going back to Atlas. And I'm thinking this is the case not only due to the imagery that we saw in the trailer, that Weiss was standing in front of another statue, seemingly in Atlas, while it was snowing, implying that she, did go back to Atlas, though that could be before she actually headed to Beacon Academy. I would love if we got more of an expansion on that, on what led up to her coming to Beacon Academy, more expansion on her fight against the Armagigas that initially gave her that scar. But I think this is going to explore either her heading back to Atlas, or if she had never left Atlas. But the main reason I think that this is going to likely be centered in Atlas is because of the redesigns that we got for all of Team RWBY and Team Juniper. Although we did not see Team Juniper in this trailer, we did get to see the outfits that they will be wearing in this new anime. So we're going to be seeing Pyrrha again. That's the very important takeaway from this. But there is also a lot to be learned from just the outfits themselves. We saw all 8 of these characters in their new outfits, and 3 of them in particular, 2 in particular really stand out, but a third as well. Weiss is definitely dressing up like the Ice Queen Esdeath from Akame ga Kill, so yeah, she's definitely taking on the bit of the dominatrix, I guess, type style of outfit. She's looking very similar to Glinda Goodwitch in that way, as well as, a military leader, possibly something cross between the Atlas military and the Schnee Dust Company, because she does seem to have the kind of Schnee Dust snowflake on her cap, I guess, the military cap that she's wearing in that image. And honestly, there are figures coming out from the Good Smile Company with these new Ice Queendom designs of Team RWBY, and I gotta say, I really need to get that Weiss figure, as well as the Blake figure, because her redesign looks very interesting for the fact that not only does she have her cat ears, but there's a bow covering one of the 2 ears. She also has a cat tail. Now, this is something that was mentioned a while back by some of the creators of RWBY, that they regretted limiting Faunus to only having a singular Faunus or animalistic trait. And this might be their opportunity to explore having more than one animalistic trait, because Blake has her ears as well as a tail in this redesign, and she's also wearing gloves. At least I think they're gloves. They might just be actual cat paws with claws on them, and those might be the weapons that Blake fights with. Maybe she wouldn't have her Gamble Shroud in this alternate universe, and it is an alternate universe because if we go on the website and go look at the staff who are working on it, there is one for the alternate universe designs, and it's specifically listed as that. So this is very much going to be a canon retelling of the RWBY series up to a certain point, and then branching off into an alternate universe story. At least that is what I'm heavily led to believe at this point in time. The next outfit from our protagonists that really stands out is the outfit of Pyrrha, which I'm really happy to see that it's Pyrrha's outfit that's standing out, because hopefully she'll get a lot more focus in this animated series, because maybe, alternate universe, Pyrrha doesn't die in this one. Nothing bad ever happened. In this universe especially. Well, you know, nothing bad ever happened to Pyrrha in this universe. We'll see how things play out for the other characters. But if you look at the dress that Pyrrha is wearing, it looks very similar to another outfit we may have seen somewhere along the lines of volumes 4 and 5. Perhaps if the red dress Pyrrha is wearing was recolored with hues of white and blue, it looks very similar to Weiss's outfit from volumes 4 and 5, just with, you know, a longer skirt and a little bit of more accents added to it. So this might imply that Weiss goes off to Atlas, becomes a military leader, and Pyrrha goes with her for some reason. Perhaps it might even be that Pyrrha decided to go to Atlas Academy instead of Beacon Academy. I have a feeling that's probably not the case, since as far as we're led to believe, Team RWBY and Team Juniper are both formed at Beacon Academy during this initiation, but considering we were shown scenes in the animated trailer of, you know, the Emerald Forest initiation, but never saw any of Team Juniper, perhaps Pyrrha did go to Atlas instead and Team Juniper was never formed. But Team RWBY still becomes friends with the remaining members of Team Juniper, and then when they get to Atlas, following Weiss trying to bring back their friend who left from Beacon Academy, then they will encounter Pyrrha, making connections that way. That is one scenario that my mind has come up with, especially after discussing with a few of my moderators on Discord, but this could also be an entire scenario where Weiss never went to Beacon in the first place, considering that in her alternate design, she doesn't actually have that scar over her left eye. She got that scar while fighting against the Armagigas, which, if we are to believe the RWBY manga, that fight was put to her as a test by her father, considering the Schnee Dust Company was apparently also experimenting with Grimm. They put a Grimm, a possession-type Grimm, into a suit of armor, told Weiss to fight it, and if she defeated it, then she would be permitted to go to Beacon Academy. So perhaps this is an alternate universe where Weiss lost that fight, was stuck at Atlas Academy and became cold, and this is the path that she was led down. And the reason I'm focused so much on this being something in Atlas, as I mentioned, not only because of the imagery that we got in the trailer of Weiss standing in front of another statue where it's snowing, likely in Atlas, but for the fact that the remaining designs of the characters that we see, with RWBY, with Yang, with Jean, with Nora, and with Ren, they're all dressed for winter. All of them are, well, okay, RWBY, Jean, Nora, and Ren are dressed for winter. Yang is, well, Yang. She's still showing a little bit of skin and not exactly dressed for winter, but still, they are in more warmer clothing, which would seem like they're headed towards a snowy area. As far as we know, the really only snowy area, especially with RWBY now having her Crescent Rose transformed into a snowboard, which was implied to be the case in the live stream, it seems very likely that they're headed to Atlas. So I'm really curious to see what direction that this series is going to go in, but my inclination thus far is that it is going to be focusing on the conflict between RWBY and Weiss. In these redesigns, and I may just be reading way too much into this, but we can see the designs directly from Volume 1 contrasted with the new designs for this animated project. And out of all of the characters, 5 of them from Volume 1 and in their redesigns are all in the exact same pose. except for 3. That being RWBY, Weiss, and Pyrrha. Those 3 characters, for some reason, got brand new poses, perhaps implying that they are going to have a different form of character growth throughout this series. Weiss, you know, she has a very stern expression on her face, and given the outfit that she's wearing, she seems to be a steadfast military leader in her redesign. Pyrrha seems a little bit more cold, you know, and with the outfit being very similar to Weiss's, it does make me think that she has some link to Atlas in this alternate retelling. And then RWBY, her alternate pose might just be because she's now wearing a snowboard jacket. But the fact that these 3 have different poses, it hints that there might be something special about these characters, that the series itself might focus on these 3, which would make complete sense given what we know thus far. The trailer itself hinted very much at the conflict between RWBY and Weiss, that is going to be the main focus of this animated project, that we will possibly see Weiss become obsessed with this image of perfection that she will strive to achieve, and we'll see how that progresses as the project airs. And then, of course, with Pyrrha, well, she's a character that we have not seen personally in the RWBY series since Volume 3. Outside of, you know, a statue in Volume 6 and the occasional flashback here and there, we haven't seen Pyrrha on screen since Volume 3. And so I would imagine they would love to give her more screen time and more focus in this series, even if it's kind of an alternate personality Pyrrha where she went to Atlas instead. But seeing Pyrrha on screen again, incredible, something that I really, really want to see and something I am definitely hoping for. But overall, that's pretty much my thoughts on the trailer itself. The visuals, absolutely breathtaking, and the new redesigns for Team RWBY and Team Juniper look very interesting. We've also seen Ozpin as well from the trailer, and he's looking pretty suave in 2D animation, but with all of these redesigns, all of them look amazing, even though Jean, yes, all he does have is like a scarf, a couple mittens, and then a toque, but, you know, that is kind of very much Jean and his way of doing things, just very simplistic. But with the rest of them all having their different redesigns, and the implication that this is going to be taking place in a cold environment, which automatically makes every one of us think Atlas, and with all of this being called the Ice Queendom, there is definitely a lot of snow imagery brought to mind, and with this being focused on Weiss, Atlas is likely going to be a central focus as well. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Is there anything that I missed in this trailer? It was only about 1 minute and 50 seconds long, so there wasn't really that much, but still a lot that can be drawn from it, combined with the information that we have on the website. If there's anything I missed, anything that you want me to talk about in a future video, I will be happy to do so, as I am certainly going to be following this project. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be making episodic reviews. I probably will be doing that, as well as making more theory videos as the project airs, but, you know, that's still a couple months away, and there's a lot that I want to do before then as well. So, ultimately, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below and any ideas that you have. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, more RWBY theories, more on the Ice Queendom anime project, as well as when Volume 9 airs later this year, make sure to subscribe and join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. Tweet me at Phoenix Knight 7, and I will see you all in the next video.